I want to talk a little bit about the addict in your life. So it's important to consider the impact controlling individuals have on young children. So from what I've seen, oftentimes parents without boundaries, particularly anxious parents without boundaries. So you've got someone who doesn't know what a boundary is, and then they're highly anxious. They're really doing a number on their children. So if you've got someone like that, the children aren't allowed to feel their own feelings. They're not allowed to think their own thoughts. They're not allowed to be the person that God made them to be. Frequently, in situations where you've got a controlling person with poor boundaries, the child will become a liar. And the controlling parent will force this issue because the child's just not allowed to be different from them. So, in one particular situation, I know of a young woman who suffered from severe migraine headaches, and her parent didn't believe in doctors or medicine, and she desperately needed medication to help cope with the debilitating pain. And she confessed to me the manner in which there was a lifelong history of lying because this person had just squeezed her personhood in so many different ways. She became an addict at a very young age and never recovered. It shortened her life. So when I talk about the addict, I want to say there has to be great compassion for the addict. We don't know what their story is. We don't know what their struggle is. We don't know how they're suffering. We do know that control inside of families is one of the primary issues that's going on. So if they came from an over controlling household and then they marry somebody without good boundaries who's controlling, that's going to be quite triggering to them, and they'll do things to distance themselves from their spouse and help them to feel autonomous. So, gaming addiction can very much be a coping mechanism inside of families. I've seen situations where the parents were they had mental health issues and there was no talking to them. They had created their own weird little world. And the individual who was engaging in gaming, that was the only way they could have a conversation and bounce ideas off of and breathe was when they were on the internet. So again, gaming isn't all bad. Sometimes it's functional. Sometimes it certainly is a coping mechanism for all gaming addicts. But sometimes we see people where the their spouse or the parent is calling the gaming addiction an addiction, and it isn't. It isn't. It's a functional coping mechanism. So again, these are really complicated situations, and it takes time to tease them out. And there isn't a single situation that isn't unique in some particular way. April 6th. Just as the common cold has symptoms such as a runny nose and sneezing, alcoholism also has symptoms such as blackouts and mood changes. I have to accept that I too display symptoms similar to those of the alcoholic. Among them, obsession, anxiety, anger, denial, and feelings of guilt. These reactions to addiction affect my relationships and the quality of my life. But as I learn to recognize them and to accept that I have been affected by a disease, I begin to heal. In time, I discover feelings of self-worth, love, and spiritual connectedness that help me to counteract the old responses. No matter how severely I have been affected, Al-Anon can help restore me to sanity. Addiction is stronger than good intentions or genuine desires. I didn't choose this family disease, and neither did the addict. So I try to behave with compassion for us both. Today's reminder: my acceptance of this family disease allows me to stop wasting my energy fighting a hopeless battle and to turn instead to sources of genuine health and hope. Al-Anon and my higher power. The quote is, by accepting the idea that addiction is an illness from which problem gamers and those who care about them can find release, you will have no reason to be ashamed of addiction and no reason to fear it. So, and this is from a book called So You Love the Alcoholic. I pray you consider my words carefully and consider the complexity of the situation and realize that, we're nobody's judge. God alone understands all the nuances of what's going on. It's ours to support each other and love each other through these difficult things we face in our lives.